My principal told my best friend she was imagining problems that don't exist after she reported a teacher who traumatized me. When we showed him evidence, he warned us, false accusations have consequences. We left. That was a year ago. This morning, his retirement was on the front page of the news. I was a sophomore when Victoria, the once most popular girl in our school, came back after missing the first 4 months of the year. The moment she walked into class, everything went silent. You could literally hear her backpack zipper. Then some kid in the back yelled, "There's the girl who got pregnant and is now a mom at 16. The whole class started laughing. Nobody stopped it. Nobody said a word to defend her. Victoria just stood there, staring at the floor, holding her binder tight like it was the only thing keeping her together. At lunch that same day, she sat alone at a corner table. People threw crumpled paper and straws at her like she was invisible. I started walking toward her, but my friend grabbed my shoulder and shoved a balled-up note into my hand. "Don't," he said. "She did this to herself. She baby-trapped her boyfriend. He had a full-ride D1 offer, and now he's stuck changing diapers." Everyone laughed. I didn't. Over the next few weeks, I saw how completely her life fell apart. Teachers who used to praise her now treated her like she was what was wrong with the world. When she asked questions, they answered her with fake smiles and sarcastic tones. During our health class, while a teacher gave a talk about responsible choices, he stared directly at her almost the entire time. The students weren't any better. Girls who used to copy her clothes now whispered "slut" when she passed by. Her friends stopped talking to her overnight. She deleted her social media 2 weeks later after people started commenting things like "Mom of the Year" under her old pictures. But through everything, Victoria never became bitter. She didn't snap. She didn't fight back. She just carried herself quietly. After school, I'd see her tutoring kids from the special needs class. I once saw her hand a few dollars to a freshman who said he forgot his lunch money. She always carried tampons and hair ties in her backpack for anyone who needed them. Nobody ever said thank you. They just took what they needed and went back to pretending she didn't exist. Everything changed one afternoon when I decided to skip the period. My mom had been drinking again the night before and things got bad. I woke up with my hands shaking, so I needed to get away. I went to the hidden spot behind the gym, the one with no cameras, to have a cigarette. I was halfway through it when I heard footsteps. It was Mr. Peterson, my geometry teacher. Everyone loved him. He was the cool teacher who made jokes, wore sneakers, and high-fived students in the hallway. "Rough day?" he asked, stepping closer. I froze. I knew I was caught. "Please don't tell anyone," I said quietly. He smiled and said, "I won't. You've seemed stressed lately. Maybe I can help you relax." Before I understood what he meant, my back hit the wall. His hand slid down my arm, and my cigarette fell from my fingers. "Just let me help you," he whispered. "Back away," a voice said sharply. I turned and saw Victoria standing there, holding a can of pepper spray pointed right at him. Her hand didn't shake, even though her voice trembled. Mr. Peterson stepped back, trying to laugh it off. "You're misunderstanding. I was just checking on a student." "I saw everything," Victoria said. "Leave now." He hesitated, then muttered something about reporting us for smoking and walked off. I just stood there in shock. Victoria looked at me and said quietly, "I came out here for a smoke too." She wasn't trying to be a hero. She just happened to be in the right place at the right time. She walked me straight to the principal's office and told him what happened. "Mr. Peterson tried to touch her," she said, pointing at me. Principal Hayes barely looked up from his computer. "Mr. Peterson has been here 15 years without a single complaint," he said. Victoria crossed her arms. I saw it. He had her pinned against the wall. Hayes turned to me. "Is that true? Sometimes when we're upset, we misread situations." Then he looked at Victoria and added, "Given your situation, I understand how you might be seeing problems where there are none. If you want to avoid drama, you should think about your choices more carefully." Victoria's face went red. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. She stood up and walked out. I followed her, but by the time I reached the hallway, she was gone. I didn't see her for 2 days. When she came back, everything got worse. I was in algebra when one of the guys who always made jokes about her waved me over. "Hey, look at this," he said, showing me his phone. I didn't want to, but the other guys crowded around laughing, so I did. It was a post on our grade's private gossip page. My stomach dropped. It was Victoria, or at least it looked like her, in fake edited photos. They had used AI to make it look like she was in those kinds of pictures. "Pretty funny, right?" he said. His friends laughed. I didn't. I just walked out. I knew exactly where she'd be. Behind the gym. Same spot. She was sitting on the ground, knees to her chest, crying harder than I'd ever seen anyone cry. I sat down next to her without saying a word. We stayed there quietly while she sobbed. After a while, she whispered, "You're the only friend I have left." Then she leaned against me and said, "You deserve to know the truth." She took a shaky breath. "My boyfriend Jake isn't the father. He left me when I told him I was pregnant." My stomach turned. "Then who is?" I asked softly. She looked up at me, tears running down her face. "Mr. Peterson," she said, before breaking down completely. I froze. The same teacher who she had stopped from hurting me was the one who had done it to her, and nobody believed her. I held her while she cried, and my mind sped through everything. Suddenly, so much made sense. The way he had cornered me, the confidence in his voice. He had done this before. She told me it started the year before, when she was struggling with proofs, and he offered extra help after school. At first, it was normal tutoring. Then came the compliments about how mature she was, how smart, how different from other students. Then one day, he asked her to stay a little longer, shut the door, and stood too close. She said she froze. After that, he acted like it was a secret between them. She was 15. He knew exactly what he was doing. I asked why she even came back to school with everything so bad. She wiped her face and said she had to graduate. She wanted to show her baby that you keep going even when it is hard. She said that was her reason. But the fake photos made it feel impossible. I told her we would do something. She laughed a little, raw and tired, and said we already tried telling someone, and the principal said we were seeing problems that were not there. I said then we would try another way. We met the next morning at her locker. She looked worn out but determined, hair in a messy bun, hoodie with our school mascot, eyes a little swollen. She handed me a schedule she had written out on a torn piece of notebook paper. "Let's split up," she said. "I will talk to girls who had him last year. You talk to girls who have him now." We did not push. We asked casual questions. Most shut down fast, like a door closing, but a few gave us looks that said more than words. One junior's eyes watered when Victoria said the phrase, "after school help." The girl whispered she did not want to talk, grabbed her backpack, and left her lunch on the table. By the end of the day, we knew two things. There were others, and they were scared. I went home, opened my laptop, and started looking through old yearbooks on the school site. I wrote down names of girls who had his class and suddenly had perfect grades in math, even when their other classes stayed the same. I took photos with my phone. It was not perfect proof, but it felt like a pattern. Later that night, Victoria texted me that she She remembered seeing a paper gradebook in his desk with little stars next to certain names. Back then, she thought it meant he believed in her. Now she wondered what the stars really meant. The next afternoon, we waited near the gym doors and watched Mr. Peterson head to basketball practice. When he turned the corner, Victoria led me to the math department office. The supply closet had a ring of spare keys. She had seen them before when she helped in the summer. One was labeled with his room number. We walked down the empty hallway, hearts pounding. The key turned easily. Inside, the room smelled like dry erase markers and coffee. Posters about perseverance and formulas covered the walls. His desk was neat, a mug that said, "World's Best Teacher," a stack of graded quizzes. We searched fast. In the locked bottom drawer, we found 3 paper gradebooks. We flipped through them at his desk. The stars were real. Little star marks next to certain girls' names each year, 3 or 4 per class. The same names I had noticed in the yearbook showed up with stars. There were small notes in the margins like after-school help, extra practice, very promising. It looked harmless until you saw the pattern. Victoria took photos of every page with stars. While we were putting the books back, a folded note slipped out. It looked old, written on cute lined paper. It read, "Mr. P, thank you for yesterday. I will not tell anyone. Please do not fail me." There was no name. Victoria swallowed hard. She said he made her write something similar once, called it proof she agreed to extra tutoring. My hands shook. Footsteps came down the hall. We shoved everything back, relocked the drawer, turned off the lamp, and hid behind the door. The door opened. It was Principal Hayes. He walked to the desk, opened the top drawer, took out a file, flipped through it, put it back, and left. We stayed frozen until we were sure he was gone, then slipped out and locked the door. We sat outside on the bleachers, breathing like we had run a mile. The sky had that late afternoon gray look, and you could hear the squeak of sneakers from the gym. We knew we had to tell someone, but not Hayes. Victoria's aunt was the only adult who did not judge her, but she did not work at school. We needed an adult inside who would believe us. The next day, Mrs. Chen, the AP bio teacher, asked to talk to us after school. We did not have her for class, so we were nervous, but we went. She closed her door, pulled the blinds, and said she had heard we were asking about Peterson. For years, she had noticed girls going quiet, leaving activities, changing seats to the back row, then suddenly getting A's in geometry. She had tried to say something to Hayes 2 years earlier and got shut down hard. "You are seeing problems where none exist," was exactly what he told her. She said if we wanted help, she knew a detective who worked with cases like this. She warned us that once we involved the police, everything would change. People would take sides. It would get loud. We met Detective Sarah Mills that Saturday at the police station downtown. She had kind eyes and a calm voice. She did not rush us. Victoria told her everything. How the tutoring started, how the lines got crossed, how she felt trapped, how he told her to blame Jake, how she stopped telling anyone because people called her names. I showed the detective the photos of the gradebooks and the note and told her about the girls whose grades jumped out of nowhere. Then I showed a screenshot another student had slipped me in the library. Messages from a number saved as Mr. Peterson's, asking a girl to meet after school and making comments that went far beyond math. Detective Mills believed us. She said belief was not the same as proof in court, but we had a strong start. She asked if we could help her reach other students confidentially. She gave us her card and told us to document everything and to tell her right away if anyone threatened us. On Monday, Peterson was out with a substitute rumors shot through the hallways like they always did. Some said he was sick. Some said he was at a training. Some said he got a better job. We stayed quiet. At lunch, Hayes called us to his office. He asked if we went to the police. We did not lie. He sighed and told us we did not understand the damage we could cause. He said making false claims had consequences. He did not raise his voice, but it felt like a warning. Victoria stood up and said we had already tried doing it his way. Then we walked out. The next week was heavy. People who loved Peterson got loud online. A group of parents started a petition saying he was a great teacher, and the rumors were cruel. The fake photos of Victoria popped up again with new captions. It hurt. She still came to school. We ate lunch by the broken vending machine. We shared Chipotle one day when we both forgot to pack food. Little things kept us going. Then, little by little, the silence cracked. Brittany, a quiet girl from my English class, turned in her phone and gave a statement. Her parents backed her up. Another student, Lauren, came forward privately after a long talk with her mom. More teachers told the detective they had tried to raise concerns and were told to stop. Mr. Rodriguez showed emails he had sent about Peterson's behavior getting too personal with certain students. Miss Park had notes from a staff meeting where she was told not to make assumptions. The district placed Peterson on administrative leave. The board held a closed meeting. The investigation widened, and it was not only about one teacher now. It became about a culture that brushed off worries. School felt like a pressure cooker. You could feel the divide in the hallways. Some kids whispered thank you when we passed. Some glared. Months went by. We kept up with classwork, jobs, and everything else. I worked a few nights a week at Target to help with bills at home. Victoria's aunt watched the baby when she had homework. We studied at the public library, in the corner near the outlet because her phone battery liked to die. We saved copies of everything on a flash drive hidden in my backpack. We learned to move careful, to not be alone in certain hallways, to sit close to exits. It was exhausting, but we kept going. One afternoon in spring, the news broke. He was arrested. Charges were listed with official words. The article did not name any students, but everyone in town knew what it meant. The school sent a message to parents about taking safety seriously and cooperating fully. Hayes announced an early retirement at the end of the year. He said he wanted to spend time with family. Everyone read the statement and knew why. There was backlash, then quiet, then something new. Change. The district put in new rules about one-on-one tutoring with doors open or in public spaces, about contact after hours, about mandatory reporting. They set up an anonymous tip line and trained staff again. It did not fix what happened, but it mattered. People who had bullied Victoria started backing off. A few even apologized. Not many, but enough to feel different. The fake photos slowly disappeared from accounts after the police got involved. The student who had posted the first set faced discipline. Colleges do not like to see created explicit images of a minor on a record, even when the images were AI. That was a relief to see. I testified at a hearing. I talked about the day behind the gym and how Victoria stepped in. I wished I could say I was brave. Honestly, I was scared, but I did it anyway. The prosecutor said our photos of the gradebooks helped show a pattern. That felt strange. Something so small giving weight to something so big. Over time, life looked almost normal again. Victoria finished the year and kept going. She had tough days, but she smiled more. She met with the school counselor who actually listened. She joined a support group in town for young moms. She started talking about college classes at the community college, maybe transferring later. She said she liked the idea of social work, helping other people who did not get help when they needed it, she said. We still had lunch at the same table by the vending machine sometimes, even after things calmed down. Routine made us feel steady. We talked about small stuff, the iced coffee at McDonald's being better than it had any right to be, how Walmart always somehow made us buy more than we planned, whether Costco or Sam's had the better pizza slice, normal things. It helped. The legal side took a while. Lawyers had motions and schedules and delays. In the end, Peterson took a plea. He could not argue with the number of statements and the digital evidence the police found when they searched his devices. He was sentenced to prison and barred from ever teaching again. It did not erase what he did, but it stopped him. Hayes left. A new principal arrived who looked tired the first day, like he already knew this job was going to be dense. He set up listening sessions with students. He asked teachers to meet in small groups with a counselor to talk about school culture. The next year, they added a student panel to help review safety ideas. Victoria joined. She said she wanted her voice in the room. There were moments that still stung. At the grocery store, an older neighbor once said to me, "Such a shame about that teacher. He seemed so nice, I just nodded." Some people would always prefer a nice story to the hard truth, but most folks were learning. I saw change in little ways. When a teacher put a hand on a student's shoulder to correct posture, he immediately said, "Is that okay?" When a student cried in the hallway, a staff member sat on the floor with her and called another adult to be present. When rumors started, someone said, "We do not know the whole story. Let it go small things," but I noticed. Near the end of the year, Victoria and I stood in line at Chipotle after school, baby in the stroller, both of us starving. A girl from our grade walked up and said quietly, "Thank you. You helped me without even knowing it." Then she grabbed her bowl and left. Victoria blinked fast and smiled down at her son. We ate in the car, windows open, radio low, just breathing. Graduation came. Victoria walked across the stage with her head high. The applause was loud. Some people stood. Her aunt cried. I yelled way too loud and clapped until my hands hurt. After the ceremony, we all took photos in the parking lot with our phones. The evening light made everything look softer. Someone handed the baby a tiny cap, and he chewed on the tassel. We laughed for a long time. Over the summer, Victoria worked part-time at Target with me a few shifts and took a class at the community college. I helped with babysitting when her aunt had appointments. We met at Panera sometimes to study because the Wi-Fi was dependable and nobody bothered us. We joked that we were turning into those people who study in booths with highlighters and iced tea. One day in July, the local paper did a short piece about new district policies around student safety and mandatory reporting, and at the bottom they mentioned the former principal's retirement and the teacher's case that had pushed the changes. They did not use names of students. They simply called us two students who refused to stay quiet. We screenshot it and sent it to each other. Then we went back to our homework. Sometimes people still ask me, "What happened to that one student in your high school?" And the story felt too big for a quick answer. I would say, she kept going. It was the most honest thing I could say. She kept going when people laughed, when they lied, when they sent things meant to break her. She kept going for her baby, and also for herself. She was not perfect. She had days she wanted to quit. She had mornings she cried in the shower, and nights she stared at the ceiling, but she kept going. When the next school year started and I was a junior, I met two freshmen who had heard parts of the story and did not know what to believe. I told them the truth, simple and plain. I told them if anything ever felt wrong, to tell an adult they trust, and if that adult did not listen, to tell another and another. I gave them the number on the new posters in the hallway. They nodded. One said, "Thanks." It did not feel like enough, but it was something. Victoria started speaking once a month at a youth group in town about boundaries and asking for help. She kept it gentle, focused on hope. She ended each talk the same way. "You are not hard to believe. You are worth protecting. You deserve to be safe." People clapped every time. Teenagers came up after with questions. Parents asked for resources. It mattered. We had coffee one Saturday in October at a place near the library. She wore a thrifted jean jacket and had index cards sticking out of her bag. She told me she got invited to share her story at the community college orientation. I asked if she was nervous. She said, "Yes, and I am ready." I believed her. I still thought about the day behind the gym. I thought about how a single, small choice, someone rounding a corner at the right time, shifted everything. I thought about how close I was to freezing completely. I thought about how many times we could have given up because it was hard and messy and people said we were causing trouble. And I thought about how none of this was dramatic like in a movie. It was slow and boring and stressful and complicated. It was copies of papers and saving screenshots and meeting after school in quiet classrooms. It was showing up again and again. We never got an apology from Hayes. That felt right, honestly. Some people do not know how to apologize. But when the new principal held a forum, he said, "We failed our students before. We are building something safer now." It did not erase pain, but it helped. The last time I saw Mr. Peterson was in a photo on a news site when the plea was announced. Gray suit, blank face. The headline talked about years he would serve and restrictions after release. I closed the tab and went for a walk to clear my head. I passed the elementary school playground and watched little kids chase each other in circles, pure energy, and I thought about how adults owe them safety. We do not always get it right, but we have to try harder than we were trying. Victoria's baby turned 1 in the fall. We had cupcakes at her aunt's house, the kind with too much frosting and sprinkles from Walmart. The baby smashed his and got icing on his nose. We laughed so much my cheeks hurt. We took a photo of the three of us, me, Victoria, and her son, in a little paper crown. Later, she printed it at CVS and stuck it on her fridge with a magnet that said, "Good things grow." People like to say, time heals everything. I do not think that is true. Time gives space. People heal with work and help and safe people around them. Victoria did that work. She built a circle one person at a time. Her aunt, me, Mrs. Chen, the detective, a counselor, a few classmates who stepped up when it counted. She still had days where old voices tried to climb back into her head. On those days, she texted me, and we got fries at McDonald's or walked in the big box store aisles under bright lights until things felt normal again. Simple plans, but they worked. If I had to explain what changed me most, it was learning that telling the truth might make life harder for a while, but it was still worth it. That you do not have to be fearless to do something brave. You can be scared and shaky and still take the next step. You can be a regular kid, working at Target, running on iced coffee, worrying about grades, and still make a difference in a place that told you to be quiet. So when someone asks, "What happened to that one student in your high school?" I say this: she came back when people wanted her gone. She helped a stranger behind a gym door. She told the truth when adults told her to stop. She stood up for herself and for people she had never met. She sat through meetings and questions and rumors and still did her homework. She celebrated small wins like getting through a day without crying in the bathroom. She found help. She asked for more help when the first person did not listen. She learned to breathe again. She graduated, she kept going, and so did I.